In 1953, the Central Intelligence Agency got involved in managing public perceptions of the UFO problem. And they organized something called the Robertson Panel, named after a scientific intelligence officer named H.P. Robertson. The Robertson Panel concluded that it was in the best interest of the United States government to suppress media coverage of UFO sightings. To do that, they recommended a number of standard propaganda methods. They wanted, first of all, to use ridicule to cast the subject into disrepute, and by so doing, make people reluctant to talk to newspaper reporters and TV cameramen and so forth. And that program was, in fact, carried out. They talked about consulting with companies like Walt Disney to create films that would portray the UFO topic in a negative light. They talked about using high-profile experts to talk about the subject of UFOs in a negative light and try to suppress interest. There were just a whole array of methods that they proposed. And just recently, a memo was discovered in the archives of the Smithsonian Institute where a member of the Robertson Panel was writing to another member. This memo was written in 1966, and he commented that he had been working with CBS News on creation of a documentary about UFOs. There was only one documentary that CBS broadcast in that year, and that was narrated by Walter Cronkite. So it suggests that the Central Intelligence Community and CBS News was in some fashion were cooperating with each other to put a negative spin on the UFO topic. And probably the reason they were doing that was that in the mid-60s there was an intense amount of UFO activity across the United States, much of it centering around military facilities.
Good evening. Reports of flying saucers are nothing new. From the beginning of recorded time, men have been seeing unexplainable things in the sky, and there's no reason to doubt they saw something. The question is, was what they saw really there?
Well, first beginning, we were watching television, and we have 6 dogs here, and they started raising a fuss, in which they never do much, so I went outside and gave a yell at them, and as I turned around to come back on the porch, I looked to the north of me, and looked like a fallen star radar. It was red and kind of coming down, and on about a 45, and so then I watched it, and I was going to see if it landed and then maybe go down and see what it was. And when it got to the top of the trees, it stopped, and a blue and a white light come on it. And I looked at it, and I thought I was seeing things.
Frank Manor's UFO remained over his swamp more than 4 hours. His children saw it, his in-laws saw it, residents of the area saw it, the police saw it. No one photographed it, but Sergeant Newell Schneider of the Sheriff's Office remembered it well enough to draw it.
No, it moved very rapidly at any speed, or rather any direction it wanted to go. While it could change and go to the right or the left or go crossways without hesitating a bit.
What do you think it was?
Well, if they call it a flying saucer, that's what it is.
40 miles away, another swampland and another UFO sighting. This is Hillsdale, and the girls at Hillsdale College had a night to remember.
Well, when I was looking out the window with the binoculars, I guess it was about 12, I saw it, and I saw 2 red lights, and I saw what looked to be shaped like a pie. I could just see the front of it, and I just saw the round front, and I could see the lights on either side. And then the red light was sort of casting a glow over the whole thing, so it looked like a round disc.
At first, when I'd heard the other girls talk about it, I believed them, yet I couldn't really make myself comprehend it because I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. But then when I saw it, I just was fascinated. I wasn't afraid. I just wanted to stay there and keep my eyes glued to it. I couldn't leave.
I know I saw it, but, and I know myself I saw it, but I believe I saw it, but I can't fathom it because it seems so unreal.
Well, you can look at here. Look, beer bottles thrown. Look at my windshield. What would you think if somebody was throwing beer bottles at your house, standing out in the middle of the road screaming, you nut, you're fanatic, and all that? What would you think?
Are you sorry now that you did tell people what you saw?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry because not that it's not the truth, but it's just the idea, the reaction of the people. They think you're a nut. Tell you the truth, that's just what they figure you are. And I'm not going to take it no more. I don't want nobody down in here. I just leave me alone. And if the thing lands right there by that pump, I'd never say a word.
Typically we're dealing with apparently round, symmetric, disc-shaped objects, definite size, shape, surface texture, bigger in diameter than they are in thickness, protuberances that might be landing gears or antenna, windows might be decorations too, we don't really know. Things with definite size, shape, surface texture. There are other reports of things that are cylindrical, long cigar-shaped objects. And if you look at the landing cases, and of course I'm most concerned with landing cases because then we have something to work with. These are cases, landing trace cases, where a UFO is seen on or near the ground, and after it leaves, one finds physical changes produced in the environment. If you look at those cases, and one researcher has collected more than 1,000 such cases from 55 countries, and they're similar, whether you're dealing with sightings in Australia, New Zealand, you got the same landing traces as in the United States, as in South Africa, as in Canada, England, France, all over the world. There aren't any laws of physics that stand in the way of flying saucers, either getting here from other star systems or performing here once they're here. Many people think that you can't get here from there. The fact of the matter is that there are published studies by reputable engineers and scientists in good technical journals showing that trips to nearby stars, and I don't worry about the distant ones, are feasible with reasonable round-trip time, shorter than a person's lifetime, without violating any of the laws of physics.
I thought the aliens would attack me.
Would attack you and do what? Hurt you?
Yes.
How would they do that?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
In September 1994, over 60 children from this school in the suburbs of Harare, Zimbabwe, witnessed several objects landing and two beings coming out. Just over 2 months later, John and Dominique came to the scene to work with the children, their parents, and the teachers still suffering from shock. John, who essentially specialized in child psychiatry, devoted a great deal of time to interviewing the children.
Something scared you, is that right?
Yes.
What scared you?
The noise.
What noise?
The noise that we heard in the air.
You heard a noise in the air?
Yes.
What was it like? Like a roar or a buzz or a hum or what kind of a noise?
It was like someone was blowing a flute. It was scary myself.
It was scary because you saw something yourself?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I saw little object hovering. It was quite big actually, and then there was little ones all around it.
We saw something silver, and then we quickly ran to the logs, and we saw a silver thing, and we saw a man standing next to it.
What did it feel like when he was looking at you?
I felt scared.
It felt scared? What was scary about it?
Well, I felt scared because I've never seen such a person like that before.
Did you see the eyes? What did they look like?
They were going like that.
Where was the pointy part? Was the pointy part in here, or was the pointy part out there? Up there. And what was the feeling when you looked at the eyes?
It was scary.
Mm-hmm. And what scary? Why? What made it scary?
The eyes looked evil.
Evil. Mm-hmm. And what was evil about them? Say what you mean by evil.
It looked evil because it was just staring at me.
With what? Staring at you as if what? As if to do what?
As if it wanted to come and take us.
As if it wanted to come and take you. That was the feeling you got? That it wanted you to go with it? Did you feel like you wanted to go with it? No. Did you feel, what was the effect on you when you felt it wanted to have you go with it?
I just walked away and I started crying.
They